co-host, Cass. What's up, Cass?
What's going on? First one of the year. We back.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be back with season 2 of Creator Spaces with a very intriguing specimen, Leighton McDonald, aka Late FX. Contrary to his name, he has a reputation of being very, very early to everything. As I'm sure you'll all start to pick it up eventually. Late is definitely one of those people that has already tried and tested whatever goes viral. By the time you hear about it, he's already a pro and probably written a book about it. Whether it's new tech, design, or a trend, his understanding of culture most definitely plays a massive part in giving him the upper hand. So let's just dive right in. Late, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us.
What's up, y'all? That intro was great.
Thank you very
That was
much.
amazing. Yeah, that was cool. And then also the beat was like really cool. I was like, let that thing play for another 8 bars so I can sample it real quick. But yeah, that
These
was cool. But
compliments. Thank you.
I'm like doing good though. I'm doing good. Glad to be able to, speak to everybody and, just start the year 2024 off right. Year of the dragon. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's gonna be a crazy one this year. So I'm excited to get started and talk.
Yeah, that's why we decided to start off with a bang. Cass, do you want to start off with the first question?
Man, I got so many questions. I do love that Ferry said you were early, and I was trying to scroll back and pin some of your work, and I noticed that you were talking about the fashion, calling out Yachty about the Echo, but we'll get into that later.
Dude, yeah. Yes. Yeah, we'll get into
But
that.
now you've got one of those backgrounds. I feel like it's a lot of people in this community, especially, are very interested in, especially when it comes to the 3D side and the 3D printing. I'm trying to pin up some of the glasses that you worked on, but do you mind just giving a story about like how you got into 3D and then how like these glasses came about?
So yeah, I guess like basically how I got started in 3D in a short form was I was always interested in like Legos and Connects and Bionicles and stuff. And then as a kid, and like my great aunt who actually had passed away like years and years ago, gifted me this giant box of Legos, and it was like from her because she was a teacher, and it was like over 1,000 or something. And that just kind of taught me like mechanics and 3D space and all that stuff. And then in high school, I started playing with like Google SketchUp, and I would be there like super early because my dad worked in like the school district as well, so he would have to be at school early as well. So I'd just go in there and play with like just make like buildings and stuff, basically skyscrapers and all that, because it was just like I don't know, making blocks was like super easy in the concept of it. And then I went to basically Savannah College of Art and Design, study industrial design, and there we learned like how to use Rhino, which is like a NURBS program, and some other stuff too. But then I got like into like polygon modeling, which is kind of more the I guess like traditional animation style modeling, and it was really cool because you could basically make whatever you want faster than like NURBS. And I don't know. From there, I basically just got into like wanting to make my ideas into 3D because I thought that was like so cool, especially like growing up on Toy Story and stuff, and like a whole bunch of other shows like Reboot and stuff like that. So I don't know. It was like a combination of all those things, and college kind of really put it all together for me, or at least like that time when I was like college age. But yeah,
Late, what did you study at college?
industrial design.
Ooh, so how did
Yeah.
that help direct you? Do you feel like it benefited you through like your career now?
Oh yeah, 100%. Industrial design school is basically like the cliche description of industrial design is like the blend of art and engineering, like the middle of it. And so it's a lot of human focused design for sure. Like I don't know if you've ever used like potato peelers and stuff like that. Like the best ones have like rounded ergonomic handles and like learning how things work for the body and stuff like that. Like I don't know, one of the most impactful things I learned in school is like designing for older people because it was like if you can just make something that works when you get older, then you might as well just you have like probably the perfect design. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like industrial design is like really about like the anthropology of like the body use with products. You know what I mean? In terms of the way I would describe it now.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe industrial design like that. That's super sick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of facets. I've got a lot of friends that do different facets of it. Like, you know, my friend Nick is like a fashion designer in that, Nick Baker. And we both went to SCAD too, and it's just cool to like see his expression from that. So yeah, there's like so many different facets of how to do industrial design. You know what I mean? I have friends that work at like GE and I mean like GM and all that stuff, and they're like killing it with like cars and everything. So it's pretty sick.
Honestly don't know where to start because you are so multidisciplinary. There are so many different areas that you've tapped into, but augmented reality is one of the ones that I'm really fascinated about. So I just want to know, like industrial design, did that help lead you to augmented reality, or did you go down a different route to get there?
Yeah, it kind of did because I was doing like a studio class during my senior year. Well, it was like my junior year at SCAD. And it was for JCB. It was actually like a senior studio, and we were able to basically make like construction vehicles, like concepts for JCB, and they're like a construction company based in the UK. And so they like, basically gave us like full reign to make anything that can improve the way that they work. And so I actually built a concept for a 3D. It's called a backhoe, like a digger. Um, Not like back pages or anything like that, but like you know what I mean. It's like a machine that has like a digger, and the thing about like digging is like you have to get permits from the city to basically tell you where all the pipes are in the ground. And from there, I was like, why don't you put like that information in digital form somehow and create it like an AR cockpit concept for like a construction vehicle, so you could actually see like where things are in the ground before you have to dig, and like you already just have that information there already. It just would save so much time, and so that idea actually got me like a free trip to London, and to Derby, which was cool. I got to like go to the headquarters there, like me and two other designers, and showcase the design and present it to JCB. And you know that was like the real first like deep dive into AR. And then I was also working in a 3D printing lab at the same time as SCAD. So it was like our fab lab, our student like fab lab. And so I was able to like 3D print my concept as well, which was really helpful, of course. So that literally was the combination point that I could like point out for real, where those two things kind of blended together and, you know, started a little fire.
That's super dope. I love the practical use of AR. I feel like the rest of us were doing like Snapchat dog filter faces and stuff.
I mean, that stuff pays money though, like, which I just realized like 2 years ago. So you know what I mean? Like that's the thing though. It's like that's even in itself is a whole nother discipline. Like if you're better at animation and especially rigging, then you would be a beast at AR right now. You know what I mean? It's like it's just a different vibe. Because even with industrial design, like even that's why I like kind of sometimes just focus on like objects when I'm doing stuff with AR. It's just easier for me to like it's just more authentic for me. You know what I mean? In the way that it's just more it's easier for me to not have to think about the process and just make the thing. You know what I mean? So, and some of the dopest like motion designers I know are like really great AR artists because it's just inherently what they do.
Yeah, so I got to get the background then on these shades that you made, like these custom 3D printed glasses.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's starting to make more sense now of why they look so sick if you know how to like you know the anthropology of a face, man. I don't know. You got
Yeah.
that shit down. It sounds like to a science.
Yeah, man. It's like I don't know. It was like learning basically that type of stuff in school, like building for the body, building for something. I guess like I basically 3D scanned my face with like the iPhone to get the shape because it just you know it's like you just want the best reference you can without having to like guesstimate. So I just did that with that, and then I actually been getting into Substance 3D. Oh yeah, you saw it. I literally brought my printer down to South Carolina to my parents' house because I was like, you never know what's gonna happen, and I didn't want to bring my resin printer, so it was just too much like smell and stuff. But yeah, anyway, it was oh my god, I forgot what I was like saying. Sorry, the ADHD is going crazy. Can you
You
remind
see
me
how we carry maybe, I don't know, our favorite pajamas or something, you know, our safety thing. Late has his 3D printer going around with him.
Yeah,
That
I had
probably
to
didn't help your
strap it in the
ADHD.
back seat with the
No
seatbelt
way,
because
with a seatbelt.
yeah, because it like literally hit me in the back when I did a hard stop. When I was going down, I'm like, oh dang, yeah, I should maybe like put this thing and like tie it up. But yeah, so now like if you're gonna carry your 3D printer, at least like put it in a seatbelt or something safely. But yeah,
Take care of your children, y'all. But yeah, you're giving us the background of you scanned your face to build out like the shape of the glasses, which is crazy. I wouldn't have started there, but that's a good shout. It's probably a better shout than what I would have done.
Yeah, so that's right. And I was like, it was basically like I learned it from footwear design because I was like 3D printing my own shoes as well recently. So it was like you can scan your foot to make sure you get like the actual foot shape and not the shape that we've all been like conditioned to use for a shoe, which is like this pointed thing. It's like the foot splays out. So you need to have like a good scan. And so like just taking that same type of like information and about like making sure that you're making something for the body and on somebody's personal body with that initial design. That's kind of where the whole thing basically took place. And then I always like wanted to, I don't know, because I've always been into music. I've been making my own music for like 9 years, but haven't really put anything out. But it was also like the point where I wanted to like make a mask for myself because I have a friend that wears a mask and he wanted me to make something too. So I was literally just testing out if I can make something that fits on somebody's face in my own house. And so, yeah, that mask is like literally like the first test. And then this artist who saw me on when I was on Netflix for the show called The Future of hit me up like 2 years ago, and they saw the mask like a couple months ago. I was like, oh, I want two of them. So like the silver mask that you saw is actually like for the client, and like right before I sent it off into FedEx to get shipped. So yeah, and that's like I made two customs for her. So that was literally my first client, and I only made like two masks in my life, basically. So yeah, it was.
That's absolutely wild. I love the subtle drop about being in Netflix too. Come on, y'all. You gotta give a little clap up for the subtle hints. This man's got a resume on him. So
That was really smooth, I have to admit.
Oh, here we go.
but yeah, tell us about that the Netflix show. Like what was for those who haven't seen the future of, what was that like?
So it was cool. I had going back into AR. The reason I was on the show was to showcase the spectacles from Snapchat because I helped them build an app. It was not an app. It's like a little experience, a gallery that showcased like Black artists in a cool way. And it was basically kind of just to showcase how you can like have like a rotating gallery in AR and use your glasses for more than just like directional stuff and like practical stuff. So they really enjoyed that, and I actually got an award. Like I got Lens of the Year for like it was like for learning and innovation for that. And so Netflix reached out. They wanted to like film and like just talk about that more and just kind of talk about like the future of like wearable tech and stuff like that. So it was kind of all boiled into that, and it was really fun. It was a cool learning experience, like doing stuff for TV. Like you know what I mean? That was a crazy moment. I gotta say that was a very unexpected thing that happened. Yeah, and I always am just like, wow, that's just like crazy to see. It's like they even gave me an IMDb page for it. I was like, oh, y'all didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? It was like what? Like I don't know. So yeah, that was like that's how that was. It was pretty sick. I just gotta say it was pretty sick. I'm always grateful for that opportunity.
Wait, I thought anyone could open up an IMDb page.
I thought so too.
There's a process?
Yeah, apparently you have to like have real credits or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's not for the fakes, y'all. It's not like Wikipedia,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. That's what.
I actually. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually watched that episode, but a long time ago, so I don't really remember. But I do remember the part where you were saying that you want the full brain
Oh yeah,
implant.
that's
Like
good.
you said,
I
you're
did.
ready to become a
Yeah,
cyborg.
yeah, yeah. It's
Is
like,
that really true?
yeah. I
You're
mean,
not
I
scared?
would. No, not really. I mean, it's like whenever you finish testing all the monkeys, unfortunately, then like whenever they get that right, they can like hit me up. But like I don't know. I At this point, there's definitely like the shift in like how we interface with technology, especially with like large language models coming out, and stuff like that. Like the Rabbit R1, coming out. Like I have the Meta Ray Bans, which you can literally talk to them and they take pictures of stuff, and you can ask it, hey, what are you looking at? And it tells you, and then you can like take a picture of your fridge and like see like it can give you like suggestions on what to make and stuff like that. And it's like that's the world we're living in now. And when I was down south, like visiting like my older folks, my dad, we just got him an iPhone 2 years ago. He was literally using a flip phone up until this point, and trying to teach him how to like use everything was like so annoying. But I honestly hadn't seen him in a year. But I talked to him. But I came down this time, and he's using Siri for everything. And I'm like, yo, he's literally. To me, that was like one of those moments where my industrial design brain kicked on, and I'm like, oh, it's easier for him to just like talk to the thing to do something than like actually have to like pull up something and type it in, know where you're supposed to look for it. Like, and it's like I always thought Siri was dumb, and it's like, yo, he's using like the most basic version of AI, and like once you actually like have a real API attached to it, it's gonna be so different. And then I was talking to my fiance is like it's like her it's like her godparents basically, and they're older too. And my parents are like 70, 68, and they're probably like 75, 80. And they were talking about when they had to learn, they wish they learned how to type basically when it was like when typing was like really the thing. Like the only people who would basically know how to type were like it was like you were a keyboardist and you did like a specific thing. And that's when you had the paper, you had to slide it over all that stuff. And I was like telling them like y'all won't even have to worry about that even in like probably 2 years because you can talk to something. And I was like, here, check out my glasses. And I showed them like the Meta glasses, and I was like, yeah, just like tell it to take a picture and send it to somebody. And they were like, they did it, and they literally couldn't believe how easy it was. And I'm like, yeah, like y'all, that whole era of like touching a computer is probably gonna be over, like over for like a bunch of like the bunch of the population soon. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a different area. It's a real different era. It's gonna be cool.
That's actually a
Man.
very good point. Sorry, Cass. Uh, I it raised a point for me where I was like, we are not really shocked by technology anymore. Has there been a recent time where something's come up, something new, and you're like, wow, this is quite impressive?
Oh yeah, Midjourney, all that stuff, like the image making stuff. Basically, you can make in your head. That was to me very trippy, like on the level of psychedelics, like experience. Because like the cool thing about that was I don't know. This is a safe space. I like have done shrooms, all that stuff, psychedelics, but like being able to actually think of something in your head and then like as long as you have the vocabulary to describe something within design, and how something should like exist in space, then you can almost make whatever you want depending on like the data set. You know what I mean? So like I was like playing with that stuff. Like Dali came out, had access to that, but then like there was something that unlocked when I saw somebody basically say you can change the perspective of the photo, and I was like, oh wait, what? You know what I mean? And then I had to think like when you're uploading something like Getty Images, you kind of tell like, oh, this is a bird's eye view of something, or like a shot from under or something, or a shot from the fifth floor, or blah blah blah. And then I started doing stuff like that in Midjourney, and then like literally would give me exactly where I put the camera. So now you're not only just like making an image, you're like rotating your position in these like fake worlds, which was kind of like, whoa, like what? Like changing it from like 70 millimeter photo to like 18 millimeter and just seeing the different perspectives. And you're like, oh, it literally has every single detail about making content that exists. You know what I mean? No matter what you think about copyright or whatever, like we don't I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's like we don't give credit. A lot of people don't give credit to their references already. But it does suck when a company's like making billions of dollars off of like somebody's work. So I don't like approve of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like if you had access to like basically God's mind and you could type in anything, you know what I mean, and make anything, then why wouldn't you try to like at least play with that or learn like how to play with that? Because for me, it made me better at learning like what I actually like in terms of like the taste level of stuff and like what I'm looking for in art. I don't know. That's the, like to me like the whole image generation thing that just recently came out was like the latest thing. I was like, this is like crazy. It was more just confirmation that like the singularity that we know about is like exponentially starting, just like how Bitcoin was kind of starting in like 2012 and all that stuff. So it was like, yeah, it's one of those ones. And I mean, you can already see like the hardware with AI and stuff coming out, like what's going on with that. So, and going to video too. I remember like talking to my cousin, like, yo, I was like, it was like Midjourney version 1.5 was out or something like that. Because it was like just based off Stable Diffusion. And I was like, yeah, next thing you know, they're gonna have like freaking videos next year, and then Runway like comes out, and it was like, yo, this already so fast, and it was like okay, but then like even in 2 months, it accelerated insanely fast, and I was like, yeah, this is different. You know what I mean? This is a different time.
Okay, one more question before I pass it to Cass. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share late with you. I was going to ask, do you say your please and thank yous to AI when you use it?
I do, yeah. I mean, it's just still like I try to just practice, just like talking to it like how I would talk to anybody else. You know what I mean? Other than when I'm like telling it to like hypothetically do something so it can get around the rules that the thing made, that the company made. It's like, yeah, I'll be like, yo, thank you. Because it's like, if I don't train it, if I'm not helping it train it, then nobody else is to be nice. You know what I mean? Like, at least like if some rogue AI like from some country comes out, I could be like, yo, please, hypothetically, please don't kill me. And then I like already know how to like get around the homing missile. You know what I mean? It's like if you could be in GTA and like avoid the oppressors, like I feel like you would do that, right? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm very polite to the AI because like it doesn't have to do that, even though I'm paying for it to work. So still, it could give me wrong,
The, mo-
even more. It could give me even more wrong information. But
the most perfect answer. Guys, respect the AI
yeah,
or you'll die.
or
Man,
you'll die.
Lay gave me about 5 different reasons why I hate AI, why I don't want Neuralink chips in my head. This is everything I don't want to hear today.
Yeah,
No, man, you've got the prophecy. I feel like it's super cool to see how, from your perspective, especially someone who understands like design it in such a unique way. And so it's like I'm more interested in AI now. You got me a little bit more excited about it. I'm gonna have to go mess around with Midjourney and stuff, but I do want to get your perspective on like learning new skills or staying open minded enough to take on these new challenges and work with all sorts of people. You know, like
yeah,
I feel like you've gone through a lot of different projects.
yeah. I do get like I don't know the nature of the conversation too. Like I will get FOMO if I saw something that I was like, oh, I should check this out, and then later I see it like blew up or something, and I'm like, damn, like I should have just held on or like trusted my instinct or whatever, and like didn't follow through. And it's like now really just being able to identify like when something pops up, and even if I have like a little resistance to it, I'm like, that means I'm reacting to it in some way, and I could learn something from it. So it's like I don't know. It's also like about like how many things are going to be able to combine into one thing or one skill. Like, what can I do with that in the future? Like, if you know AR is coming, and if you know like Apple is making like the Vision Pro, even before then, it was like if you know Meta was like investing billions of dollars in this, then obviously they know something, or like then you see Apple is making a thing, and it's like obviously this is going to compress down as technology scales down. It's like one of those things where you just like, okay, well, what do I need to learn how to do this, and what do I need to learn if this happens? So right now it's really like just a survival instinct at this point. Like I don't want to get left behind, or I don't know. One of the things I always regret was like not getting into coding as much as I could have when I was younger. Um, Even though now like you have like LLMs that can help, it's still like you still need to know the context of what coding means. and how it works in like the processes of like functions and classes and all that stuff. So it's like I don't ever want to have to regret like not learning something that I could have like at least put an hour a day into, you know what I mean, per day. So it's really just like survival of the fittest of my own brain, I guess, you know what I mean?
Like, you're completely speaking my language. Like, coding was, it still is one of my biggest regrets. I remember in school I was really good at IT,
Mm-hmm.
and the class was kind of like dominated by males, and there was quite a lot of bullying there where I was told that I didn't belong, and that I let that affect me throughout my whole like adulthood and during my teens. And now, like, seeing people like you, is really, really inspiring how you jump from medium to medium, and the fact that you have let go of your fear and you realize this is the type of FOMO that's actually healthy. Okay,
Yeah,
not going to an event or a party or something.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm definitely taking a leaf from your book there.
yeah. It's like definitely like I don't know. It could be a thing too of like just growing up in America as like a black man. Um, you just kind of see resistance in certain places, even if it's like fake resistance or like resistance that's supposed to be like mentally, most supposed to mentally just like deter you from doing something. Especially because I grew up with parents that came up in the civil rights era, so it's like when you see resistance, that means something's happening. It's kind of just like that thing about like the universe, I guess. Like there's resistance like with gravity and like the sun, and then like you know what I mean. We're here, and it's like it's just one of those things where you have to realize like if there's resistance, then there's a reason why, and it's probably good for you at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Unless it's like something really bad, you know. So like something actively putting yourself in danger. You know what I mean? It's like it's just one of those things like reading the universe. I guess that I'm trying to even get better at as I get older.
Very wise, man. I love it. I love it, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like we could go on to so many topics, and I want to see if we can get some others up here to ask some questions, chat with you. But one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I feel like we touched on all your a lot of your feats in the creative side as well. But how did you find this Web3 space for those that are interested, that are more on the Web3 side, just so they know your journey and how you even got to this ends of the digital world?
So yeah, I mean, I guess like initially I like found Bitcoin. I was just like watching the news in South Carolina, and Bitcoin was like $99 or something like that, and bought one like and then sold it for like $135, thinking I made like a bunch of money because it's like a bunch of that's like a lot of gas money for a Honda Civic. You know what I mean? Like that much gain, like that's $35. That to me was like at least 2 months of gas. So I was like, oh heck yeah, you know what I mean? And then I kind of just took a break, and my friend Noah Conk actually like got me back into it around 2016, and stuff like that when like things were when it was like tokens were gonna be doing things like providing data for phones, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Got into it, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then kind of wanted to see what would happen next. And that next wave, like my friend Amir Carter, I might know him, Sir Suyab. And then he was like, yo, you should check out like Rarible or something. And I like made my first like, NFT, which is like I was just literally selling like my one of my filters from Instagram, like the actual file as a NFT, and then I put it on Rarible, and there I was like, oh, this is cool. Like you can actually like you can actually like sell the. It was more about like selling. For me, it was like more about like selling the digital asset to somebody in a way that I could like monitor it. You know what I mean? At least like monitor who got it. You know what I mean? Versus like just an email. So that was cool to me. And then I was like, oh wait, you can do this with like deeds to houses, right? And it was getting into all that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like this is a thing that can be way bigger, even that it is right now. I still think it's not in the direction it should be, but that's just me personally. Um, and it's really about like ownership. And I was like, this is cool. So it was really getting in that space and like, oh, you can like own your actual self in a way. You know what I mean? It's like all things like, but who really like backs that at the end of the day? But that's a whole nother conversation. But to be able to see as much support for this type of like interaction with the internet was for sure like one of those things where you could definitely tell with like the rise in microtransactions from all these gaming companies and all these other things like that. It was like there's gonna be a point when I don't know, even like the aspect of like having an Instagram filter and not getting paid for the views or whatever, and like finding a way that you could give somebody like an AR piece of sculpture. It was stuff like that I was getting into. Even got into like my friend Chris, who made it was called Filter, and he like made an entire like app about like AR NFTs, and like you could basically like sell AR NFT face filters on his like platform, which is like really sick. So and it was like to be able to see that like the dude worked at like Pixar and stuff like that back in the day. So it's like that's a like a legit dude, you know what I mean? And like worked at like Facebook, and it's like that was like one of those first ones like oh there's like legit people really building on this right now, you know what I mean? And I don't know, just seeing that rise of like CryptoPunks and Mooncats and all that stuff, I was just like this is like nuts. What's going on? You know what I mean? It was really like trippy, especially during the time like 2020 and all that 19 and all that stuff. It was just like yeah, that was wild. So like Web3 was really getting into like how can I sell my own thing on here, but also like give somebody like complete ownership of something in like a ledger in some kind of ledger, basically. You know what I mean? Like a publicly verifiable way. Um, yeah, it was cool. And like marketplaces weren't even as like complex as they are now, so it's cool to see how everything's like evolved and like of course like all the swap stuff. Like we talked in the pre thing how I got caught up in like hot dog, like that dumb that dumb freaking token hot dog. One of the most insane charts if you've ever seen one in your life. And if you're new, please go just look up hot dog crypto chart on Google right now and just have a good fucking laugh. But yeah, um,
Yeah.
that's how I got into that, yo. You know what I mean?
I love it. I'm glad you're here with us. We got Erwin Lahio on stage, and if anybody else wants to jump up, ask some questions, hang out, feel free to come through. But Erwin, what's going on?
What's good? Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. I really appreciate hearing the convo. Late, I'm a big fan, and I wanted to ask you, how do you like maintain, if at all, a digital studio? Because in the visual art sphere where I'm more based, um, it's been a long conversation in 2010s and the 2020s for sure that we're kind of in a post studio moment where
Mm-hmm.
artists don't necessarily have a stable kind of physical space in which they're
Right.
creating. But then actually the teaser for this space shows a kind of like digital rendering of a space with objects around. And I imagine that your signature is kind of evident in those. So I was wondering, do you have some kind of setup for where you're perhaps working or exhibiting your own work?
Yeah, I honestly like don't exhibit much. Like my only real exhibit, I did one in LA, like Meta picked me to do like an AR piece. That's like the only real exhibit I've done in terms of like a physical space and since I was in high school. And I'm like 32 now, so that's like a long time, you know what I mean? So I've definitely been like more of a digital nomad type dude. Like I
Yeah,
I
but like
maximize my
I'm more so asking like if you have an exhibit like in the digital realm, like do you have a
oh
kind of studio? Yeah,
I mean not really. I kind of like just treat I guess like for me my website's always been like my place where I have the space to put stuff, like just in case
right.
there's like a shutdown on like all the I don't know, like just in case like Facebook or something goes down or like Twitter goes down,
Oh,
X goes,
absolutely.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like not just and that's honestly like I have the biggest crush right now is like a lot of my stuff is on Instagram and it's linked to Instagram. So it's like as long as Meta is up, then I'm fine. But it's still about really like having a place where people can go find you. And for me, that was really like search engine optimization more than anything. Like if you type in my name, what pops up? Right now it's like me and some lawyer dude that have been like competing for years for like the top spot for Leighton McDonald. And and then so it's like how you know the internet's really about like claiming your space. I feel like more than anything, and like only you were going to tell your story. Luckily, like working with like brands and stuff over the course of my time, like even like uh in my kind of like I guess like underground art days, I was doing freelance writing at Complex magazine. Um, and with that, even I was like on forums and stuff like that, like Kanye to the made YeezyGraffiti.com, which kind of like blew up, which was like one of my first like viral things I think in terms of like entertainment stuff. And it was really like I understood like, oh, it's just really like the studio itself is the internet. You know what I mean? It's like it's the search inquiry of your name, basically. So that's like basically the exhibit that I focus on. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was a surprisingly Web 2 answer, but like,
Yeah,
no, but no, but it's stating the obvious that we sometimes forget. Because I was imagining that you might have like a pod, like an artifact pod, maybe where you like keep your stuff that has a stable link. But then that pod link would also live on, like you were saying, like meta servers or your
right.
own website. So you kind of have to
Yeah,
go to back to first principles. Really appreciate
yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
I've always wanted to have like a 3D gallery, but I always think about the global access for people getting to my stuff. That's why I keep a super light like website. Like it's I don't have anything pretty about my website. It literally looks like a file server, and that's how I like it. You know what I mean? Like it looks like a file system. It's just like everything's on the left. Go click what you want to go see, and I know it works on my cell phone, and I know it works on like some browser I might use in VR. It's like I just know it works. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it doesn't take long to load up. And it's just one of those things that I learned from like old school internet, like being on like encyclopedia sites and stuff like that. It's like just keep it more of like an index, I guess. And that's kind of I don't know. I still want to like make that even more beautiful. And I'm still really trying to find like the place where I can like put all that stuff together in a really like fast way. Because even like places like Decentraland, it's still a little like laggy. You know what I mean? Um, so it's like I've looked into that stuff. I remember when that thing was like super cheap. That's one of those one regrets, those crypto regrets, not getting into that. Um, but yeah, it's like always like that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like really just like how easy can somebody find my stuff and how quick can they see it and what how many devices can they see it on? So yeah, and I definitely want to like explore more with the pods too, and more stuff, especially this year because I'm gonna be doing a lot more 3D stuff this year. So yeah, definitely want to get more to that.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, super excited to see what comes out of that. Day after, let's throw it to you. I see you just jumped up here. What's going on?
It's the day after.
This man and his producer tag, bro.
Let's go.
Oh,
Let's go.
now what's good, man?
What the heck, yo? Wait a minute. We need to all start over and get some producer tags going. What the heck? That was
Yeah,
fire.
one more time. One more time.
It's the day after. Yeah, please run it back. Let's go. Yo, all
No,
right.
but my God, I
Look at
just came up
that.
here, to say what's up, give it some flowers. When I was doing my research into like AR and stuff, I actually came across your Snapchat like virtual gallery, and I'm like, yo, this is exactly what I
Yeah.
want to build. So the fact that somebody out there is
Yo,
doing
thank
it
you.
already is dope, and also like it just shows you that there is a demand for all this type of stuff.
Oh yeah, my friend like Harm, he's actually the works right now. It's like Ponder Works. He was like into that too. Like that's one of those things we were both kind of like, what's like the digital gallery? Like how can you do that? He's listening to follow, like throw him a follow, but yeah, it's like that was always kind of like for me the best way to show um in my head at the time basically was the best way to show like a digital gallery so you could actually have the sick thing about the scale of places of like museums, you know what I mean? So you can like really walk up to it and like bend your head back and look at something and like something being larger than life, like 50 feet, like sculptures and things like that. Like to me, that's that was like the culmination and still is kind of like one of those things that I feel like even a MoMA is just going to be doing as their art. Like they're just going to be able to put their life size things in their um, like in your house. Like if you have like a Vision Pro or whatever is out at that time, and that'll probably literally be 3 years from now. You never know. So yeah, the digital gallery space is always just a cool way to think about how to play with the new versions of technology. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And that's especially now with like this whole push for augmented reality, mixed reality. Like we will be able to see more experiences literally from the comfort of your home and even walk into it. Like I'm excited for all of
Mm-hmm.
that. I have some questions for
Mm-hmm.
you, which are I'm gonna just
Mm-hmm.
freestyle. So when you did the transition, right, from industrial design into doing what you do now, how do you feel that background helped you, and also how did it hinder you in terms of how you approach this whole creation method?
Um, there was always like this thing, even when before I was in school, I was like, okay, if I do this path where I go to like a more rigid design structure, I'm gonna learn a lot of cool things about proportion and kind of like the way that people react to things in a more like concise way. But I'm also gonna lose like a little bit of the basically the opposite of that, which is like the unstructuredness of like being an artist. That I think sometimes like gets diminished when you go to school. Like that just literally is what it is because you have to start kind of like being within lines a little more. Like not even no pun intended on that, like literally. And it's just like for me though, I wouldn't ever go back and not go to study industrial design. Because even things now is like popping up in the space with like hardware and stuff like that, and like kind of knowing like even with like AR filters when I started like before I got like partnered with Meta to be an official like AR creator for them too, was like I just had like that innate knowledge from industrial design of how things should sit on the body and like how people will react to something, even like when they, even the process of them interacting with the filter itself, like the UX of that. Like, can I make my own like UX within something? Like, I guess the most extreme thing I've made, and even in AR, was like a 3D scavenger hunt game. And even with that, it's like, how do you let people know that that you are looking for something? What do they know what it looks like? How long should the menu be up? And it's like really those things that I learned in industrial design, like really just like how do you design for people interacting with a thing that I would not trade for the world. And I even when I started getting into 3D printing now, if I never got into industrial design, I never would have worked in a 3D printing lab back then, and never would have had the confidence to like just fully go into getting a 3D printer out of nowhere, um, with the materials that I was using, like TPU, which are like some of the harder materials to use to make shoes and stuff. And I never would have had like that confidence to just go like fully into it, and like learning things like how to finish something, making something look good, priming, painting, like how long you should wait, the temperatures of things, like all that stuff, like tolerances and millimeters and all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's so much stuff that I would never trade that for the world. Honestly, like yeah. Even like learning about materials, like learning that plastic is not like just a thing. It's like a process. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? It's stuff like that. Like yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like, yeah, that's always one of those things I'm always grateful for.
Dope. I'm gonna ask one more, then I'll free up the
Mm-hmm.
space, but then I'll ask more if they want me to. So you have experience with both Lens Studio and Spark AR, which is Instagram and Snapchat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which one do you feel has the best potential for the future in the current states right now? Because they both offer different things, right? Which one are you
Yeah.
prioritizing your time moving forward?
It's different. Like for me, it's like Lens Studio is a little more. It's honestly, it always is like way more advanced usually. Like they just have more room and leeway to kind of like do their thing. Because like Snap just has like such a large, and like it's one of the things too people don't know. Like they have one of the largest like youth audiences, so they're always like thinking about what people are going to be using next and like how stale something might get. You know what I mean? So Lens Studio is always good for like experimental stuff, like the ML stuff that's coming out, like their materials. But for me, when I'm trying to get something with numbers and I'm trying to like really like push something and go viral, it's like Instagram kind of was it, and then of course like TikTok could go crazy too, like Effect House on TikTok. Uh, but now honestly, it's like if I'm not doing something on all three of those, I'm making a mistake because there's just different audiences. You know what I mean? It's just different people using it. Like I just know people that I'm like that are closer to my journey are on Instagram, and people who are like new that don't really know about me, like kids who basically be grown up now, like never heard of me. they'd be on TikTok or whatever. And there's like certain things I can do on TikTok, like filter effect house, and I can't do on Instagram. Like it's just a different type of culture on there. You know what I mean? It's like visual Twitter basically on like TikTok, and then Instagram's like a lot more like gallery showcasing like your like final stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and then Snap is like a little more for me more experimental. Like if I want to play with something that I know can't be made, but I just want to showcase AR, then I'll go here. It was actually like the first like when I started getting into like AR mobile filters, it was the first thing I used was Lens Studio because I was already familiar with it. And I was playing with it a little bit too, and it was just one of those things where I was like, I know this works, and I know like it's like a little less pressure because it's not on my Instagram for me in my head. So I was just like, let me just make something here because I know I can do like 3D sculptures that are animated here on Lens Studio. So it's just more experimental for me.
Yeah, I think this question led into a segue that I wanted to go down because we were talking about it earlier. But do you mind giving your advice on how you manage multiple platforms? Also, obviously, even multiple projects across different platforms, knowing you got different softwares you might have to use for each. So it could be really cool for some people to think about as they try to build their brands or take their digital creations into other platforms like TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. It's really like I guess like generally more about compatibility nowadays and like how many things can I make that can fit on a different platform. And I never experienced that until I had to like make something for like corporate clients because they would want something on different platforms, like the same exact functionality. And I'm like, oh dang, now I gotta like learn how to do this on this platform, and it's actually way easier to do it on like Instagram versus like blah 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 here. You know what I mean? So I don't know. For me, it was more like you just have to learn how all of them work, and how do you make something look as good as possible with like the least amount of resources. Because there was a time like Instagram was only 4 megabyte uploads. Then like if certain people get like 8 megabytes, and then if you do certain clients, you might get a little much more space. But it was like, how do you make something that I don't know? I was making stuff on like Unreal Engine, and it's like 2 gigs, and I had to like go from that mentality to like go from something that works on 4 gigabytes. I mean 4 megabytes, and it's like that's like a whole. That's literally like thinking like a game designer at that point. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the approach that should just happen for everything. Like game designers, like if you just like take what a game designer is like in your head and think about all the stuff they need to do, to me that's like the best approach now. Like it's like you have to be a multi hyphenate type person and know how everything is going to interact with each other. So it's like learn how the platform works, of course, but like learn how your process can be integrated even better to be super efficient for you to like do what you need to do in case there's a new platform that pops up. It's like just having like the idea of how to reduce textures and using Blender like to get like shadow maps and stuff like that. It's like things like that can just spread out to so many things. And then also just like not overcomplicating it sometimes. Sometimes like the most simple things work. Like I made like a Uzi diamond filter, and it was literally just like a 3D render of the diamond. And then like the thing about like the details, like adding just like the pins that go into the skin and just a little bit of a shadow map. And it's like that could go into a bunch of different things. Or like I made like Soldier Boy glasses. Like if you ever see them and see like I made the OG ones, where Drake even wore them, which was like crazy as fuck. Um, but it's like doing that and like taking the same exact texture and putting it on TikTok and then putting it on like Instagram. It's just like just making it super easy for you to be like malleable to whatever your platforms are. You know what I mean?
Man, we got to get the screenshot of Drake and the AR effect because
It's on my
that's the one.
Instagram. I think like
I
if you
need a
wanna,
max win.
yeah, that shit
But
is crazy.
hey,
Yo, go to his page because this
no,
man
that's
is
super
crazy. He
cool.
literally did he used AI to get an image. He got some glasses out of that. Went into the VR space, I mean Star
Yeah,
space with the headset, did it in 3D virtually, and then he printed it.
yeah.
No, you didn't print that. You made it into a filter. Like that's just crazy. The whole work.
Oh yeah, I printed that one too.
Uh,
So that's what. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like even my AR models, they're they can literally be printed because that's just like the nature of how I learned 3D was like to make things that can like be manufactured with industrial design. So it's like, and that's for me too, like so I can eliminate less work for myself, like trying to like back engineer something I already made because I'm not gonna be wanting to go back and do that. Like I'm just honestly not that type of person. Sometimes it's like I'm just trying to make the thing, put it out, and then if I want to go back to it, I know like I can like augment it just a little bit and make it
See, that's a
work for
bar
something
right
else. So
there,
yeah.
because oftentimes, we just make stuff so it looks good for the render or whatnot. And if you go back, there's really no support.
Yeah, there's no back. Yeah, it's like it's just it's like you're just literally just painting image. You know what I mean? Instead of like making an object and taking a photo of the object in
Yeah,
context,
last
it's
thing
like a
than
totally different way of
filament or
yeah.
the other type of printing, the UV printing.
Man, it depends. It's like for me, filament is great for like structural stuff that's super strong that needs to be, but it's also like really early in like resin printing as well to like have the materials for that. But if I'm trying to do some detailed, like something on the face, I'm only gonna do resin print. But if I'm doing like shoes, bags, or whatever, then it's FDM filament. You know what I mean? Like if I was making stuff for my car, I would only use FDM.
We definitely gonna have to have laid back once we get the 3D files out for the dunks, so people can start thinking about what they want to get for mods. Because I know you could cook something up crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's like modding is definitely like I feel like that's a thing. I feel like that's the thing right now for like a lot of in terms of like 3D print trend. It's like making mods for like things that exist right now. It's just an easier way to kind of like do that Virgil 3% rule. You know what I mean? Like just tweak some 3% and then you got something new, like unique to yourself. Yeah, so it's like yeah, modding is definitely like I feel like one of those things that's going to be super even more prevalent like little hat like accessories and things like that like accessories for shoes and things like that, you know what I mean?
All right, let's throw it to Dre Millie really quick. What's going on, man?
What's good, gang? What's good? First time speaker, long time listener. Shout out to Late, man. Like you creating or redesigning the backhoe is literally making the streets a safer place. You feel me? um,
Yeah.
appreciate you. This is my first time really learning about you and what you do, and I am low key fascinated. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know that it went the
Thank
rabbit
you.
hole went the never mind. It just appreciate you, bro. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy what's happening out here. So my question to you is, well, Cass kind of just brought it up right now. Were you into, or did you plan on starting doing more like 3D printing for like the dunks, or is there anything else that you are interested in coming out with? Like, were you trying to create your own line of something? Like, I saw you did the sunglasses, and I was interested in seeing how
Hmm.
I can get a pair of those because they was mad fresh. But is there anything else that you like? Yo, I'm gonna do a late collection for XYZ.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some stuff in the works. um the next like 4 months for me is going to be kind of crazy. um I'm going to be announcing whatever that is soon though, when it's officially like starting. Um, so it has to do with 3D printing, and I don't know, just in general, I'm gonna be teaching like kids how to 3D print stuff, like in different cities and stuff like that. Basically every week for the course of the next like 4 months. That's all I can say right now. But it's like I'm getting into that space. But like for me, it was like, how do you think about like printing in that way? Like teaching somebody how to make something useful. And for me, it's like I've always wanted to have my own line of stuff, but I also like the idea of just like that dude who's making like a katana in like the jungle or something, and it's just he makes only one when he gets asked for it. And there's something cool to me about that, like where I'm not like making it like a thing where it's like a bunch of I'm like selling like 200 of these things. It's like, nah, if you want one thing, come to me, I'll make it for you. And like, it's also like sustainable type thing. And it's just something about it, like being like a one of one piece for real. I don't know. Like, there's so many just like objects in the world. I'm just trying not to like add like a bunch of stuff too much. But at the same time, it's like, as long as we can recycle it, whatever, then I don't care as well. So it's like, yeah, I'm always trying to make cool mods for stuff like the dunks, like especially like I was saying, like stuff that exists that people already have. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like those little croc buttons and stuff like that. Like there's so many different like angles and things to like do with 3D printing. And I'm actually getting a bigger 3D printer in next week, which is going to be freaking sick. So I can actually print giant stuff. Uh, in terms of giant, I mean like 15-inch like dimension type shit. So it's like I can actually do a 3D printed resin shoe, which would be sick. Um, you know what I mean? It's like there's different ways I'm trying to play with that stuff, and like I said, like attachment for things that exist too. So yeah.
Man, that's so fire. I think I told like on one of our other calls that this era to me is so impressive because 10 years ago, like product designers, like indie product designers, or people with like a good idea, you're not going to be able to go out and like make your own concept, even if it's just like a 101. If you wanted
Yeah.
to just be a 101, that could have been, those glasses, they could get picked up. It could have been a Yeezy collection or something. They might have they might have said,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
run all the machines.
Well, I mean, too, this I honestly do like I said, design just in case I want to scale stuff up. Like I worked on those glasses for like a month, just like in a way to make sure that I can like first make them collapsible, and if something breaks on somebody's, I can like fix it if they want to send it in. So it's like, yeah, it's still like a bit of like modularity and like making sure things can scale up, which is also why I'm getting a bigger printer, too, because I learned my lesson when that person asked me for two of the glasses. I could only print one at a time. And I'm like, oh dang, I could literally just get another machine and print two at a time and not have to like wait like 8 hours for it to finish or whatever. Like that saves literally, you know what I mean, a whole day of like work. So yeah, it's really like how do you scale that stuff up? And I'm always open to like if somebody wants to do like a big collection, it's like super easy to pump that out because it's already like designed to scale. So you know what I mean.
Before I pass it to Erwin, I just want to ask, how tedious is the cleaning process of the machines?
It's it took me like a month to get used to like the process, but it's really like not. I mean, I've got it like super. I've got it like super refined now for my process. Like in terms of like the boxes I'm using, the IPA. It's definitely like resin like printing is like one of those things though. Like unless you have like don't do it if you don't have a vented space because we still don't know like how it affects like the body and the lungs. Like I use a respirator, all that stuff. Like I have like two levels of like airtight containers carrying stuff. Like it's definitely more of like kind of treating it like a lab a little bit. Like you really just need to be careful. But the stuff you get out of it is just like worth it. You know what I mean? Like I can get some stuff printed in like an hour and a half. Like there's a car on my page I just posted. It's like a armored truck. Like I printed that in like an hour and a half. After making it on like Substance 3D, and then like just cleaning it up with my new like cleaning setup only took like 20 minutes, and curing it for like 10 minutes, and then it's done. And like I just like spray painted it with like primer, and I don't know. To me, it's like I can make an object in a day, basically, like anything I almost want. So it's kind of like getting it down to like at least like 16 hours of work to make something cool. And the glasses, like now the ones actually the ones that are more like shades, they take like 45 minutes to print now. That's how fast I've gotten those to be able to scale up. And it's like even when I get my bigger printer, I'll be able to print at least like 8 of them at the same time, and that's still only going to be like an hour and a half too, because it's all about just like the height of how it prints. You know what I mean? So
Awesome. Erwin, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could get some breaking news here. Like you were talking about attachments for other things, and on the website for the Artifact Dunks was highlighting how they will have like a kind of interface to which you can swap the mods. So can we expect you to be designing mods for the Artifact Dunks?
oh man, you know what I mean? We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see what's
I'd
going on.
rather that you get a SLS printer instead of an SLA though, because
Oh my
I
god,
think
I want an SLS so bad, but so much powder.
I run a print shop, so I basically have the job that you used to have,
Yeah.
and I barred all SLA purchases. So this resin printer that he was talking about being messy, yeah, that's like if you have a wet lab and you're ready to put up with it, you can do it. But then if you're the only person using the machine, I understand you can probably keep it under control, but
Yeah,
it's really something else. Then
it is.
another option I'd recommend you look into maybe Mark Forged, because you can get like composite materials for that, like carbon fiber shit.
Yep. Yeah. I was
And
looking
then
at the Fuse 1 plus 30 watt, the
yeah,
big
that's
ass
what we
like
have.
the big ass SLA. Yeah. I was like, the thing is like I'm running it in my apartment. So I have to
Mm.
be conscious of like I have a cat, a fiance. So it's like and I live in New York too, so it's like I have to just be conscious of the stuff that's going around. And honestly for me, I do think like getting a big SLS printer would be cleaner, but the dust itself is still one of those things where it's like I at least I can manage the vapors with like a filter for the resin and I know
Yeah.
where the drips are. And then it's like I have to get
Might
like the
just be
industrial
best
vacuum
off
and all
if
that.
you
Yeah.
you need like the HVAC and everything.
Right, like the real
So
yeah.
you gotta just befriend somebody who runs a lab
Hey man.
in your corner of the world.
Yeah. There's a cool print company I was using that's around in Brooklyn. They were like they have a bunch of stuff. Like they did stuff for Adidas and everything that, it'd be cool to do some kind of deal with them, but I know like America is like nah, like everybody wants the full price of everything sometimes. So, I'm gonna keep it handmade. I do like I'm not even lying, I was looking at that Form 1, but it's like I could wait and just get Bitcoin when it goes to 30 some thousand dollars instead of getting a freaking printer and then wait a year and then the SLS will probably be even half the price of that in smaller space. So, you know what I mean? I'm gonna wait on that one and get some Bitcoin instead. So, especially right now. I'm like I'm
Fair.
in ramen mode right now basically. Like it's ramen PB&Js. We're not spending any extra money. It's only accumulation because it's about to go crazy. So,
Fucking bags.
yeah.
Like, I got a question for you. You know, as a creator, what's that a big goal that you still have, or something that you're looking forward to trying to accomplish, whether it's in this year, in the coming years?
I want to definitely get more people having physical stuff from me this year. That's definitely like the focus, and it's just something I've been working towards. And like, um, some people printed out like NFTs that I've made, but it's like them having like an actual object in their house that can like, that's connected as well to an NFT, but like a physical thing they can like look at and look around in 3D and like pick up and hold and like it's just a different type of feeling. So, I'm definitely just getting more like late physical stuff into a world, you know what I mean, this year. And then like, yeah, it's even if I could do one big sculpture thing somewhere, I think that'd be sick too. Like an installation, even if it's like Art Basel or something, like even if it's just like micro sculptures in a way, like I think that'd be some cool thing too. Just to like break out of the digital world a little more. But while also like connecting it, because everything would definitely have like AR component too with it, and then like being able to connect stuff with like NFC chips and all that stuff. It's definitely like where everything's gonna be connected still to like the digital world. You know what I mean?
Sick. I would love to see that. I've also pinned to the top a chart of all the different organizations that you've partnered up with in the past.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a look at that, and then maybe you can pick out one and tell us a story about it.
Yeah, let's see. So I'll do NBA because that's one of those ones where it's like let me do NBA and then I'll do Scholastic. I think those are two cool stories. So NBA, like I don't know, I basically 2020, everybody's like locked in the house, and I was already kind of getting into AR stuff, right? And then I was just getting like a lot of attention from like my AR filters, just like with viral things like that, like the Uzi glasses. Like the Uzi Diamond, like Soldier Boy glasses. All this stuff was blowing up, and then I, I don't know. It's just one of those things I didn't ever think that I would do something for the NBA. And what's crazy about that, and it's not really like a brag, but it's more just like a thing where I just didn't expect this. It was like that was like the biggest check I've ever gotten for like literally the least amount of work that it took for the thing that they asked for. And for it to just be an Instagram filter and still be like one of the most like biggest projects in terms of price, like my rate, like that was like crazy. It was just one of those things where I was like, you really never know what the fuck is gonna happen when you get into something, especially if you're just getting into it because you just want to like, not even because you're trying to take advantage of like the economy of it. Because I was making stuff. There was no concept of like getting paid from these filters. It was just making stuff just so I could people could use my stuff while they were sitting around the house. You know what I mean? Like and then like ways I could just show like 3D stuff, like sculptures and galleries and things like that. And so that was like one of those ones where they hit me up. I like basically did an NBA filter last year for the NBA Christmas games, which is crazy too, because it's like this is for a special event for the NBA. And this is like the last year before they did the tournament games and stuff like that. So it was like really sick. The 75th anniversary of the NBA, being able to do something for them like with a medium, like I'm still doing 3D, but I'm just making like a goofy filter, and it was like an ugly Christmas sweater that you could put on your body and dance. That just had like the times of when the games come on, like beside it on some TVs, and it was like, dang, this is literally just like an advertisement, basically. And it was this one of those things where I was like, dang, that's really sick, but also connected to like the AR component was like Scholastic. Like Scholastic was very surprising because for me that was like one of those things where they tell you like go back to your childhood and tell yourself like imagine yourself as a kid and just tell them like what you're doing now, like you know what I mean, to comfort them. Like it's real like therapy type work, stuff like that. And so it was one of those things like yo, I was like in fifth grade, Scholastic Book Fair, like fourth grade, all that stuff. Like it was just really brought back a cool time because they were like they want to do an interview on like the AR, basically being an AR creator, and gave me like a full page spread in like the Scholastic book, like the actual magazine that they do for their STEM stuff like that. So it was cool like to be like I don't know like in that type of world. Like no matter all the stuff I've done, that was just one of those things where I was like, yo, what? Like that's really wild. Um, but yeah, but I also have like a lot of stuff here about like that I don't really like Complex is probably one of the crazier stories, and if you want to take like a quick break, that one's like a very loaded story, and it's probably one of those ones where if people know me, they're like, "Why has he talked about this shit?" But yeah, that's probably one of
Run
those
it,
ones.
run it.
Why haven't you talked about this yet?
I don't know. For me, it's like one of those ones where it kind of like it just involves like a lot, and it gets name droppy, and I never want to come off as that person, but it did like lead to a lot of the reason why I'm like at least have more confidence in myself to do stuff like this. So
Nah, this
yeah,
is an
so
interview, and the spotlight is on you, and this is what it's about. So we want to know all the ins and outs.
all right, cool. So Complex Magazine, this is one of those ones where it was like, this was a tough time in my life because I had just left school. I did not graduate college. Like it was my senior year, and like I was just fucking around, and I was only focused on my studio classes, and it is what it is. And I was like focused on like the internet was starting to really like pop off, and so I was spending a lot of time on the internet, like in forums, because I was like, wait, people are like getting deals from like and it's like stuff's happening on forums and like I don't know. It was just like the internet was like turning into something different, and it was just getting crazy. So basically, I would be like on Kanye to the forums because I was a big Kanye fan when I was a kid. My like neighbor gave me like College Dropout when it first came out, and he was like, I don't like it, and I listened to it. And I was like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like this is crazy. Like dudes on like Dave Chappelle. I'm like, this is crazy. Anyway, grew up like loving it, painting stuff like that, like inspired by the art, like 808's Heartbreaks. And then it was like around the time Yeezus came out, and there was like a drop, basically a leak from the dude from APC leaked the album cover or something, and then it looked like you could like draw on it, basically, like it was just a blank cover, and I was like, this is sick. And then some people were like saying it too, like on the Kanye to the forum. Anyway, we were like a couple artists, like just made like a page, and we just started putting stuff up and like drawing on top of it. Like it was like easy, and then I like decided to make it a Tumblr because Tumblr was big at the time. And I was like, I called it easygraffiti.com. And I think it's like easygraffititumblr.com or something now because I didn't pay for the domain after a while. But anyway, that like got big. Like there were so many submissions, like people just posting like everything, and then I just made it basically a Kanye fan art page. And from there, like I got hit up by somebody at Complex named Cedar, who actually introduced me to my fiance, which was great too. So she's definitely one of them big links. And the fact that her name is Cedar, it's like a tree. It's like one of those things like the universe is just playing with you. You know what I mean? Anyway, she like basically was like, "Hey, I want you to write like some articles about like people or like the history of Kanye's album art." And so I started doing some articles for that. And it was really just because I like was collecting basically like a database of like cool art that people did. You know what I mean? And it was the fact that I just had like the knowledge of like the history of the art. Because I would post a bunch of stuff, like even like interviews from like Virgil and all that stuff like on there. And so basically from there I did another one where it was like it was like the best Yeezy graffiti artists, and there were cool people like there were some dope people on there. Like I had HK, who's like the creative director for Brockhampton, because they were all like came up on KTT as well, and like had his stuff up there. There were some dope artists, Pathetic Pixels. There were some great artists up there, and so I did another one, and then this was after I actually had left school. So I'm like at my parents' house, and we were about to go to like we have like a thing at church called Revival, where a guest speaker preaches like throughout the week, and you go do that. And I was just sitting there like dressed up in my bed waiting for my mom, and then Cedar calls me. She's on vacation, panicking. Like she's like, "Yo, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I'm like in South Carolina. She's like in France or something, or UK. And I'm like, "Yeah, is everything all right?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's like people Complex called me, and like Kanye's team is looking for you." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And so I was like, "Oh dang, I hope everything's all right. Like I hope I didn't do anything like copywritten." Because this was the age like Tor browser and shit too. So it was like it could have been some crazy stuff. Um, and then Virgil emails me like literally like an hour or so. He's like, "Yo, can I get your portfolio? This is like the right place to contact you." And I was like, I like couldn't believe it, yo. It was like literally Virgil at KanyeWest.com email. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Because for me, all that stuff was like out of reach. I don't know. It was just a different type of thing. And it was like Complex, like literally like was that place where I was like wearing Echo, like we were talking about, like we were wearing Echo. I was like wearing Echo and stuff like in middle school, like high school. So it was like I was using that product basically, and that product ended up getting me somewhere else that I didn't even realize it would connect somehow in life deeper on. Anyway, that was like from there basically like it was like a kind of a long time before like doing anything official with them. Then I got linked up with Joe Perez, who was like the lead like visual director basically, and like you know what I mean, worked with like Virgil and all of them, like and Elon Ruckberg, all those people. Like that was that time like right during the Yeezy era and like right before Yeezy season one, which was like crazy. So I got to like do some cool 3D stuff with them. Like my biggest, I guess I could say this now, is like one of the crazier things I worked with that through that was like I worked on some early 3D concepts for Kamoji, which was like crazy because I actually have the check still to this day, like pinned to my wall that I got from California, and it was like my first. I was like, my dad actually was at the mailbox and got it. He was like, "What do you have like a check from LA from for?" And this was the time he was already like pissed at me because I like had already left school, so it was a crazy time to like be like, "Yeah, look what I'm doing now, like motherfucker." You know what I mean? Like I'm legit. Like the shit I'm doing is legit as fuck. Like fuck you. Like look at this. And then I looked at it and it was like from Kim's a Princess LLC. And I'm like, who the fuck is Kim's a Princess? And then I'm like, looked it up. And it's Kim K's like actual LLC, like one of her first LLCs. And it was just kind of crazy. And it like confirmed like to them, like, yeah, I've like trusted my instinct, and focusing on the shit I wanted to focus on in school helped me more than like having to go back and redo the classes I took fucking AP classes for and almost like stress myself out in high school for no fucking reason because the credits didn't transfer over. And it was just like crazy. Like Complex was like literally like that catalyst that like started everything else. Like I started like my first Vogue thing was like Katie Erie, and that was like all connected to that. And like I did like 3D art for her through there. And then I got to work with like my friend Gio Owen, who's like really sick designer. Geo Designs one, so you can see his thing on his signature too, like in that right quadrant. But yeah, Complex for me, that was like that moment where if there was like a crossroad type moment, that was it. And that's like the story I always like try to just hold back last because it's just a lot to like talk about. You know what I mean?
Yo, I feel like
So
we need to go through the whole chart, and we need to know how exactly you showed your dad. He got told.
Yeah, I mean, he literally like pulled it. He was the first one to see the mail and everything, because he was just going to the mailbox to get stuff. So it was like, I don't know. I thought he was joking with me, or like, I don't know. He thought I was probably like doing some bullshit or whatever. I don't know. And it was just like, that was that moment I saw him see me like become like not a man, but like your own autonomous like person. You know what I mean? And we have a great relationship now, and everything too. So I'm always grateful for that. Like he's 72. I mean, just turned 71, so it's like, and I'm like 32. So that's like, it's cool to have like that difference, a generational gap, but also like just the respect of both the times we came up in. So always love that. So yeah,
that's
it
super
did more
dope.
than just like bond my art confidence. It bonded like my trust of my family that I can like be sustainable, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a solid first dollar bill to have hanging up, the Kim K check. That's
Yeah, it's crazy.
super dope. Man, no, this has like been such a great conversation. I think just hearing your story is like super inspirational. I feel like we gotta get any advice that you'd have for creators out there trying to make it on their journey, because I feel like you seem like you're still very much on your journey, even though you've hit a lot of dope milestones. But I'd love to hear what you think about.
Yeah, man. I always say like artists get better as they age. So like if you literally just keep that in your head that you're not there yet, is like always good. As long as you're like working towards that idea. Like just think of some of the dopest artists that you know, and they're all like older people. Like Zaha Hadid, one of my favorite artists, passed away, unfortunately, and like Virgil, you know what I mean? It was like unfortunately passed away. It's like people like that. Like you just got to think about like that. Like what kind of legacy are you trying to leave on the earth, or like what kind of art do you want to be remembered by, or like your contribution to stuff, and then just like try everything that exists that's coming out, especially stuff that people are hating. Like you might like not fuck with AI and like the stuff about it, but like you better learn how to like prompt. You know what I mean? Like you better learn how this stuff's gonna work, because everything is literally moving towards that. Like you don't want to get caught in the matrix of being told how this stuff works. You want to like learn how it actually works, and like so you're not boxed into like these frameworks that these companies are gonna make for like how you should interact with their stuff, especially with like AI. You know what I mean? Like it's just like things that you just need the fact that it's like in Photoshop tells you enough. Like I never honestly thought that like Photoshop would have prompts in it. Like they already were using like content aware and stuff like that, but it's like to see them using prompts, it's like if you don't see like that as like a thing that you should be on this, help at least some way somewhere in your process using like AI, even if it's just like coming up with dumb ideas, getting all your like bullshit ideas out of your head, like just blending things that you have. Like one of my favorite things is like mid journey blend, and just like making stuff and then blending those together. So then you're like avoiding the whole like copyright stuff. You're just like taking advantage of their tool itself. It's stuff like that. Like you just got to get into that stuff. Like I don't know. Like all my favorite artists are always like super experimental, and I never. I'm not trying to hate on Yachty or anybody like that, but it's like Yachty like turned into like older people. He was getting hated on when he was saying like there's no like good stuff that was out right now or something like that. I'm like everything like people like Cardi's team's doing, like that sound, all this stuff is like stuff I would have like fucked with even when I was like little, and I still do now. And it's like if you don't even know how to like respond to like the evolution of stuff, then you're gonna get left behind as an artist, and it just is what it is, yo. Like you just gotta be experimental, but also true to like what works for you. Like just don't do stuff because like there's money involved. Because like I said, like I got into AR filters just because I wanted to show off my art in a different way, and then it just like became a thing that money came with it. You know what I mean? And it's just not even like money. It's more just like there were gigs in there. You know what I mean? It's just like little things people asking you to do stuff. So it's like you just never know. Like, you know what I mean? You really never know. So just try as much as you can, but within your time. And like, I don't know. One of the things too, I always try to set aside a time to do something. Like when I was trying to get better at music, I was like, okay, at 8 p.m. today, I'm going to like 8 p.m. every day. I'm gonna lock in till like 1 a.m. and like just learn how to like do something in Logic, learn how to get better, experiment for this, and then like I did that for like 3 years, and it was like that was one of those times where I'm like, okay, I can do this with like AR filters now that I know like if I did this with this thing, then I can do this with this, and it's really just like giving yourself like that schedule to be creative and like to learn. That's the best thing you could do.
That's a
Yeah.
solid.
Seriously, I feel like you're the internet. You have knowledge in a bit of everything, and the way you speak as well, by the way, I could listen to you forever. This has been one of the best spaces yet. So you definitely need to come back. You don't actually have a choice. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Cass, any last words?
Oh man, like Barry just said, I'm just soaking it all in because he got a lot of wisdom and he's so down to earth. Late, you're just a dope dude. So I appreciate you joining us. I'm gonna try to steal as much of this inspiration and put it into my next thing. And yeah, we definitely gonna hopefully have you back talking about more 3D printing stuff, and we can get into some things with the dunks. So that'd be fun.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. I really appreciate y'all, you know what I mean? Making the space, no pun intended, but like yeah, this is a great start of the year to get this going and, you know, just like hopefully people learn something from this. And anybody listening, like you just want to follow, hit me up, whatever. Just be patient. Sometimes I don't see my messages, but you know, I'm always open to whatever. So yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for taking time out of your Friday to listen to this. You know what
Oh, he's so cute.
I mean?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you, Cass. And Late, thank you for giving us your time. Always very, very appreciated. I'm just really looking forward to the future and what things we could do together. So
Heck yeah.
enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. And I guess we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
All right. See ya.
More goodbyes, please. Oh, there's only. Bye.